So here's where we left off yesterday. The task for today will be, or one of the tasks for today will be picking out the material, pulling out the material necessary to do this entire project. These are my bins of material. There's foam on top. The lightest stuff is in the top uppermost bins. Fake fur, for example. The heavier stuff is on the bottom, like one of these is full of leather, one of them is full of vinyl. What we need right now is potentially a bin of synthetics for shiny stuff for the outside, but for the structural layers we need plain cotton, which is in that one. So after we dig that out, I'll show you what we find inside it, and we'll pick through and find the right material for the job. Alright, so I'll get this stand up here. See what we've got. What in the middle of the table there we go. So I've made some decisions on the fabric. This is a very rigid black, which is a little bit sheer, but that's going on the back two panels. On the outside, this purple is going on the front two panels with, because it's a decorative piece, the lace overlay on the purple. I think that'll look really good. That's the best suggestion I've been given by the friends of whom this is going to go to, or friends of the person this is going to go to. On the inside, I decided on, hey look, it's even got the label. 100% cotton. Very high thread count cotton. It's going to be soft because as a liner it might go against the skin. So there's that. So that's ready. The shell is ready. Or the pieces are ready to make the shell. Other than that, I'm going to lay out and trace these pattern plates so that I can resize them by the measurements. Having fingernails is sometimes useful. Unfortunately, don't, because I cut them recently. 4, 3. Yeah. There. So, we start by finding a fucking pen or pencil or whatever the hell I'm going to use on this. Let's see if this works on this paper. Yeah, it works. Okay, so first thing we do is we trace out the pieces. And I don't know that we can do all of them, but I'll try. This one is a straight cut, so I can run it right off of the edge. Keep in mind this is the first line. It's going to be resized according to measurements. We're going to show where that line is, where this line is. Get down here, where that line is. Now you can't necessarily see everything perfectly well, but screw it. I don't care. I'm going to add to the measurements for that. First, let's measure the plates. Three. 7 3/4. 11 3/4, or sorry, 10 3/4. That's 14 1/2. I have to raise to 22. So it's going to be a bit more math than I had hoped, but okay, so 44 minus, so we'll do it 40. Yeah, 40. Okay. It is frustrating to have to do this multiple times, but eventually I will know what is required. 1/4, 5 1/2 divided by 4. Okay, so 5 1/2 divided by 4. I have to do some math on that. 5 1/2 waste. $45 half. A lot of math involved in figuring out what goes where. 22. Okay. 19. Well, 18 3/4. 12 that. 9 dead on. 4 1/2. 4 1/2. Post. 25. 22 1/2. Half. 9 1/2. 5. 5 at the bottom. Okay. Those will have to be divided by 4 and added onto the pieces. I'll do that later off camera. So for now, you get to see the numbers I have to do and some of the math I have to do. I have to divide 4 1/2 by 4, 5 1/2 by 4, and 5 by 4. And then add those onto the edges. Then I got to add the seam allowance onto the edges, which is an extra 1/2 inch on each piece in every direction. But we got the materials picked, ready. Okay. So we got the measurements put into the pattern and it's laid out here. Just have to add a 1/2 inch seam allowance around everything. And I can do that on the fabric. Do that on the fabric rather than on the paper. So we chalk this in place on the fabric, add a 1/2 inch of seam allowance, and start cutting. We're going to have, well, it's 4 per side, so 8 pieces of shell and 8 pieces of liner. I might do an interfacing layer in between. I'm not sure about that yet, because it would keep everything completely rigid structurally, considering there's going to be 3 different materials on the shell and a different material that's also soft on the lining. I'm going to have to decide this separately as to whether or not there's going to be an interfacing layer, because I've got some really, really rigid, hard interfacing that I could use in between those 2 layers to make it solid, but may or may not need it. Although it would make it interesting for the boning sleeves being of a rigid material and actually structurally sound. Might stand up on its own, you know. Okay, talk to you next time.